Hello and welcome to the Isuzu Ute A-League download episode. Who knows now? We've done so many. It feels like a lifetime, but a joyous lifetime. Not like it's dragged, is what I'm trying to say. It hasn't dragged. It's been great, and it still is great. Archie Thompson, Thomas Sorensen, welcome.
Hey, Maxie.
Yeah. We'll explain later why we're in these football kits, but what have you brought to the table here, Thomas?
I've brought a 2004 Euros jersey.
Okay. Did you play in it?
Yeah, I did. Sadly, we lost to the Czech Republic in the round of quarterfinals. So,
Okay.
good memories.
Lovely shirt, Hummel.
Yeah.
Love a Hummel
It's classic.
shirt. What's this, Archie?
PSV.
Yeah.
So I only got to wear this 10 minutes and, in about the 6 months I was there. But I partied harder than any of the guys when we won the league. A couple of times one time on the Champions League bench. But hey, it's a nice shirt.
Hey, you played for them?
Yeah. I could say
lovely
that.
stuff.
There's a Champions League badge on it. So.
This is
It's classic with the Phillips. I love it.
Yeah.
Like, that's
Yeah,
all
the-
proper old school.
Yeah, really good. This is Melbourne University Bohemians Champions 2023. I have this there. Interestingly, I'm not really a number 9 anymore. And now I think, why don't my name? I can't go for a run with my name on the back. That seems self-indulgent. But if you don't like the 2023 version, there is the Champions 2024
Ooh,
version
I do like
as well.
I like the black with the gold and a little bit of the
We're
blue.
always
That's nice.
we're always recruiting.
Yeah.
You know, come for a trial, both of you.
Do we need the trial?
Obviously, champions. Like
You can't just
should
walk
be hard
into,
to get
you
into.
can't walk into this team. Quentin's quite good up top, Archie.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. Now, look, before we get to the football, this is very interesting. Archie is obviously, like his media profile is through the roof in some recent publication that clearly is desperate to fill some pages. You talked about your morning routine, and it says, I wake up and I meditate in the morning, whether for 5 or 10 minutes, or even a simple prayer about how I see my day turning out. I write a gratitude list each day. So the question is, have you written a gratitude list today about
Yes.
me and Thomas? Did we make the list?
Well, everything factors into my gratitude.
No, that is not a direct answer. I can be a
Oh,
journalist.
yeah, no, it does because I think it's one of my ones. I know it sounds a little bit corny, is to love myself and love others. So you guys fall
Okay.
into that.
Okay,
Oh,
that's
yeah, it's
very.
good.
It's very kind of.
But we are grateful for you still watching after this opening to the show. Let's start with the game, Adelaide-Sydney. 3-2 win, obviously. Carl Veer under a bit of pressure at Adelaide, and we'll get into that. He made a big call, Thomas, by dropping Delianov in goal, bringing in Max Fatuli for his debut. Sort of agonising to watch, actually.
Yeah, no, you can understand the decision because they've conceded 5 against Sydney, 5 against MacArthur, and sometimes as a manager, you got to try to mix things up, and you got two good defenders there, Kikianis and Bart Friends.
Yeah.
So but it didn't go as planned. It's just that the first goal over the top. I'm sure, and you can see on Friends that he probably shouts for it, and then he still gets caught in two minds. Instead of being committed, he ends up, dangling his foot, doesn't get a clearance on it, and it sort of set the tone a little bit because, Adelaide, created chances. Devilish Mears made 2 great saves early on, so Adelaide could have been far gone at that point, and then. They just can't get out their own way and conceded another goal, in the second half. And again, you can question the way he parries the ball. Is it convincing enough? So, yeah, it's not the debut you want. You feel for him. It was against his former club. He was an academy player since, I think, he was 13 at Sydney. So I'm sure he would have been pumped. And maybe sometimes you can get too emotional, too pumped up. You want to show them,
Like Archie before these shows.
Yeah, and sometimes you just got to control your emotions. It just seemed like he maybe wanted to do a bit too much.
Just on that first goal, and like it's a mix-up, right? It's not entirely the keeper's fault. And obviously, if you're the experienced centre back, I'm just trying to be generous here.
Yeah, no,
if you're an experienced centre back, do you have time during a game when it's going so fast to think, well, hang on, this keeper, it's his debut. I just need to. I need to play slightly differently.
Of course, but again, if he gets a shout, you got to trust the keeper, and you can sort of see he steps away, and And then instead of just committing fully, just clearing man, ball, everything, he sort of hesitates a little bit, and I don't know what he's trying to do. He sort of dangles his foot. I don't know if he doesn't read the striker, Klimala, I think, and yeah, it's just unfortunate. It's not the way you want to start your A-League debut.
Of course, sure. And actually, there's a difficult balance here, isn't it? Between you don't want to hammer a young kid, but at the same time, like elite sport is ruthless, right?
Yes.
You've been put in this position, so you're the guy there. Like it's not someone else there. It's not a 35-year-old. So you have to treat them equally, and it's sort of funny to get that balance right when you're discussing moments like this.
Yeah, and I questioned. I mean, regardless of. I know that they were conceding a lot of goals, Adelaide, but for that type of match, when you look at finals and how important that game was, when you haven't been particularly great, I probably would have still liked to have stuck with a more experienced goalkeeper in those situations. But then when is the kid going to ever learn if he's never thrown in a deep end? But I just think in a big match like that,
it's massive, because if Adelaide win that game, they are, Sydney would be on 30, they'd be on 36, they'd be 6 points clear. That's a massive, like in the context of the top six, it's absolutely massive.
And what Tommy said here, like it's Thomas said about that first mistake, but also the parry. Like, I mean, he gets a good fist, like a good punch to it. That doesn't fall into the path, but I will say he did make a great save against Douglas Costa, the one that was a brilliant hand, because that could have really damaged Adelaide trying to get back into that game. But big call on starting a keeper in with no experience.
And actually, it's the 94th minute, Segicic's goal, and actually I thought he was unlucky. With that,
you can say that also, but I know if I was a keeper as well, you get two cracks at it. Like the first parry, it's a tough flight. It comes really quick, and you just want to get a body part behind it. The second one, it's there. It's not unsavable, and I think that's the disappointing part. You can't blame him. Sekitic as well, like his 10th goal. What a substitute he's been. Has done it so many times this season. Come up with either an equaliser or winning goal late on. But it's just that he had a chance to become. At least to sort of wipe off the two first goals if he had made a great save there. It's one of them where, as keeper, that would frustrate him all this week. And again, Calvert would have a big decision now to make. Does he go back to Delinov, or does he stick with the conviction? He's under pressure, as you said.
And and I will say for Sydney though, the way that they were opened up by Adelaide, by holding a high line and really not putting pressure on the ball, and Adelaide being able to have so much opportunities, they can't be defending like that. That's been their Achilles heel all year. And if you're going to be Ufuk Talay looking at that, knowing you run in, you want to tighten that up, because they were opened up so many times, and they've got a tough away game for the Asian Champions League Elite 2. The first leg's in Singapore on Wednesday. Then they have to come back and play a game. Auckland. Yeah. That's going to be hard in itself. It almost reminds me, I don't know if you know, like the Real Madrid team, where they had everyone, like just all the firepower up front. So they didn't
Sounds
really
like Real Madrid for the last 30 years to me.
And
just Sergio Ramos kicking people at the back.
Yeah,
right?
but they'd always concede. They always had enough to be able to win games. It almost seems like that for Sydney, where it's like, oh, okay, we don't mind defending if we can see goals when we got the attack like we do. But still, they really need to tighten up if they're going to make finals.
Kamala got a couple, obviously, what a moment for a centre forward to be gifted 2 goals like that. But it's interesting, I think he's on loan, so they've got an option to buy. Yeah. He seems to me just one of the best centre forwards in this league. Like it seems a no-brainer if the money counts or the money works out to sign him permanently.
Yeah, you can see he's a veteran now. He's a box player. Gets the goals. Got that experience. I think he's on 10 goals. I tipped him, I think, for the goal scorer. I think there's a few young players that want to have a say in that. But it's what you need. Like they had Bobo before, just someone that guarantees you those 10, 15 goals every season, and he seems to do that. I think that if they can keep him, I think it's a no-brainer.
Would you make of the pressure on Calvert?
Oh, yeah, I think it's a little bit harsh, to be honest. If you look at the stats of since he's been in that head role, I think Adelaide have made a couple of semi-finals. They've managed to blood a lot of young, talented players and sell them off and make money for the club. And then, okay, there's been this 2-month period where they've just lost their way big time. And I guess it's that maybe people have seen, but they forget very quickly about what Carl Wiett's done. I feel like he doesn't deserve this pressure, and I've really got to take my hat off to him too, because a lot of the I think interviews after the game, before the game, were talking about his future, and you could just see the integrity of the man. It was. Just business as usual, not really trying to focus on as much as that could be such a big pressure on someone. But I just think it's not warranted, to be honest.
Yeah, and where do they go? I think with Adelaide, it seems like a club where, especially with all the young talent, that you need someone who knows that in and out, who knows those young players, who can, and he's done a great job with that. And is that not really what is their big priority? Because that's been their success. Iran Kunda, other players have come through there, and now they've got Kikianis, they've got several other young players that they can feed on. And I don't know, unless but I think you can see with ownership, they always want more, and it's never good enough. But sometimes the grass is not always green on the other side.
Auckland 1, Western Sydney Wanderers 1. What did you make of this one, Thomas?
I thought it was a great game. Again, it had the drama right to the death. Some good goalkeeping and some questionable goalkeeping. Yeah. But again, I think it showed two teams that are some of the best in the league. I think Milanovic again showed Kraev has really come on. He missed that. Poulsen made a great save.
Unbelievable to come out so quickly.
Again, it's just one of them brave positioning as well. Standing your ground, and his timing of actually getting there at the right time, I think was fantastic. And then it had the overhead kick from who was it?
Max
Matter, yeah. So and Gallegos, getting gifted a goal from Lawrence Thomas where he slips. But I think it had the chances right to the death. So you know what? It showed that it's two teams that are obviously going to play finals and could potentially be maybe a grand final preview. Who knows?
I was so sad that Sapsford was offside in the build up to that goal. That was such wonderful football. Every touch was perfect.
Yeah, well, I think this year's been great like that. There's been so many great team goals. But that was beautiful. I mean, a little flick around a corner. He sort of, and just the awareness of Borello to slip the ball in, and it was a great finish from Kraev. But both of these teams, the whole intensity of that match from start to finish, I mean, it didn't lay off. Gallegos, I thought it was unbelievable. That's probably the best match I've seen him play. His runs from midfield, trying to get him behind. Still a great finish with the pass from Lawrence Thomas. He still had to trap it and still hit it, hard enough. But I think, it's incredible game of football. But it's 5 points now that Auckland are on top. Oh man, they've got a tough away trip to Sydney. Maybe a bit fortunate Sydney have to travel away. Then they've got Victory away,
and I think they got Western United away.
And Western United away. I mean,
they'll up the win for that one.
That's what we want. They have to earn it.
Yeah.
And again, it's not in the bag, and that's what we're praying for here on this show.
Yeah, totally. Just on that Poulsen error, and he's obviously, I think he's been the best keeper in the league this season. I think he's been brilliant for them and a brilliant signing. The commentator said, look, perhaps the sun was in his eyes.
The sun?
Yeah, no cap. Keepers don't wear caps anymore.
Yeah.
where's Bruce Grobbelaar with the cap? Were you a cap man?
Never a cap man. I didn't
Stetson?
Stetson. Yeah. If I'd been offered a Stetson, I would have worn it.
Top hat.
You know what? On that one, I've rewatched it a fair few times, and that, it's one of them where it does go through him a little bit, but that run across him.
Yeah, I was going to say. Yeah.
It's so hard because it makes you hesitate for just that split second. If he had he would definitely have saved it if he had a clear view of everything. And so sometimes that's where strikers also earn their money. They get in a way that they make people rethink things or just hesitate in a split second. And he saw it late. And fair play to Milanovic. You shoot, you have a chance.
Yeah. And actually, and you will probably know better than me, when it's quite close to you, you're almost easy to go with your foot than with your hand.
But it's the run across him, because if you actually see it from behind, you can see that he hesitates. He awaits what happens, and then there's just enough power that he just doesn't have the time then after to react. And it looks bad, but. No, but again, he has been brilliant, and I would give him the benefit of the doubt for this one.
West United won again. I feel like they've won every game this season. Do you know what I mean? I don't know, how are they not 100% record? Every time we talk about them, they've played good football, they've scored goals, they've looked good. We praise John Aloisi.
Yes.
Yeah.
But they haven't won every game, but this was pretty straightforward for them.
Wow, man. What else do we say? I mean, it's almost rinse and repeat when it comes to West United at the moment. They're just great. I don't think Botic had probably one of his more influential games, but then they're not just reliant on him. They've got other players. Bozanovsky, again, pops up nice and early for that first goal. And then they just keep finding a way. I mean, they're just solid at home. If they've got I don't know how many home games they've got left to the end of the season, but teams that go there find it very, very difficult. I think Auckland.
I think it's the last game.
Yeah, so they've got it.
Title decider.
Yeah, wow, it could be. And Auckland were, I think, the last team to beat West United on their home patch. So, but they're solid. They're really, really solid. Good mix of experience and young players, and everyone is making an impact. I think Najarine comes on, scores his first goal for West United. Everyone, Ruse
was
had
brilliant. Ruse was
that.
brilliant for that third goal.
Yeah,
wasn't he?
he never gave up on the ball. So everyone is doing their jobs, and that's all that John Aloisi can ask for. Yeah.
Worth mentioning, Jaden Pearman scored a brilliant goal. In this game for Perth. Just drops his shoulder, opens his body up. But the best goal of the game is perhaps the worst goal I've ever seen.
It's crazy.
I loved it. It's one of those where you're like, has that actually gone in?
And
but there's no way of knowing if it's gone in. I don't think anybody there realises it's gone in. It's like, I don't know what happened. I don't know how you analyse it, Thomas, but it just gave me so much joy.
It had everything. First of all, one of the Perth defenders drops out of a challenge or doesn't win a challenge, and then it ping pongs, and I don't know how it goes back by Oliver Sale. It's just one of them where. Yeah, as I said, it's unexplainable, and they'll probably look at each other like, "Well, what happened here?"
Yeah, and it took like half an hour to go in.
Yeah, there was so much bad defending. There was so much bad defending in one sequence that it was incredible. But it summed up Perth, and that's why they're at the bottom. They've got that little bit of brilliance. Taggart has provided a fair bit. Pearman has been a highlight, but then they're just killing themselves at times.
Let's go to MacArthur's 5-1 win at Brisbane. It's interesting, wasn't it? Because MacArthur were dominating, but then Brisbane go 1-up. It's a brilliant goal as well, isn't it? And then they could have been 2-0 up, and you think, well, I don't know how they could be, but they could be. Yeah. And then MacArthur just went, all right, let's play.
Yeah, again, it's the same old story, just like Perth. I think Brisbane, and I always pick them. I don't know why it is. I always pick them. I think it's because I see a glimpse of hope the week before. Where
you're a glass half full guy.
Yeah, I'm like, okay,
gratitude for them. That's what you've done.
This could be it. This could be it.
Even in the game, it was glass half full at that point.
Yeah,
Abu Bakar. Scores great goal and has that shot at the post.
Yeah,
so
they were right. It could have been 2-0.
They were right there, and then
and then they were
just like the house of cards just got blown.
And that's a sad thing about it. And then I watch my tips, and I just keep falling down the ladder because I tip with my heart. And now I think I've got to just tip with how they perform. And
I was going to say tip with your head, but I'm not sure that would be good either.
I'd maybe just copy someone and see what
maybe just roll the dice. Play by chance.
But I mean, Jacques was great hat trick. I think that third goal that he scored was an unbelievable ball across from Adamson, I think. He still had to open his body up a little bit. If you see in the replay, he saw the run of Jaklic, but Jaklic still had to let the ball come across his body and tap it away. But and then the big man with the robot,
Sawyer.
Yeah,
He's on a roll.
and that's what because I think I might have been telling my brother about Crouch. I don't know if he was just copying him because of the height difference, and I did say that Crouch was a funny character because in one of his interviews he said, "What would you be if you weren't a footballer?" And he said a virgin.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it is a good line.
So I mean, I just hope that. Well, I know mathematically MacArthur can still make that finals, but you'd be pinching yourself if you're Mile Sturjovski when you think of the games that they really let themselves, a bit disappointed in that game.
Still
against
right there,
Newcastle.
though.
Yeah, but I don't know if they might have just sort of left themselves.
But they still like if they make finals, like you overlook the losses of players. Again.
Yes.
Jet Drew, and obviously our friend who didn't like the referees, and they've been like
and they lost a few before the season started.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So again,
Peel,
if they overcome,
Peel,
Peel, there was
yeah.
plenty of players that has gone out. So if they make finals, it would be. I think it would be a great achievement.
Yeah.
I have for what I would say is a mildly interesting stat on Yakelis. It's not one you'd run into a pub and say, "Guess what, guys?" But actually, there's something to it. He's got 9 goals, 9 assists for the season.
Yes.
Right? The phrase "goal involvements." If you're a football dinosaur of our age, it just feels wrong off the tongue. But it's a good way of describing it. Only 3 players have ever got to double figures for both goals and assists in a season
In the A-League.
Aaron Moy, Marcus Rojas, and Craig Goodwin.
It's a good list.
Yeah.
If you get on there.
Yeah.
Is it more than mildly interesting? Maybe it is.
Yeah, and he obviously made the move. I thought he had a decent season at Melbourne City, but he's definitely become a super influential player there. And when you can have those players, I played with Aaron Moy. You think about it, it's 20 goals you're involved in. But what a difference that makes in the season. Those players that can chip in, but also be the providers. They're gold dust, and if you can get in that list. He deserves it. He's had a great season.
Wellington Phoenix won a football match, and I mean that probably should have led the show.
Oh wow!
I don't know I just don't remember it happening. So many congratulations to them. They won at Newcastle Jets. Our friend Robbie Stanton is going to depart the club at the end of the season. And actually, like we've joked about Robbie Stanton and these hands in building Australia, and all that stuff, but. I think it's a real shame. Like he's been so great for that club, and sort of what he's said. And obviously, you have to take what everyone says with a pinch of salt, right? We're all involved in trying to make ourselves sound, the best. Maybe the 3 of us aren't very good at it, but what he's saying, it feels like to me genuine that he has the club's interest at heart. He cares about this club, and what he's saying is he's not getting the backing, and if he's not getting the backing, then. I don't know if you heard the drilling in the background. That was Robbie Stanton building this. I was just thinking, you want me to build Australia? More power.
He started in his new job.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he started already. Well as a tradie in this country. The plumber on our street, his house is like 3 times the size of ours. How'd you get that? Anyway. I was making a sensible point amidst all this nonsense, which is like he really cares about this club, and he's saying he's not getting the backing.
Yeah, no, he came out after the game. He was asked, and fair play to him. He was deadly honest about, obviously not being happy about certain people in the background that wasn't pulling in his direction. And I think you look at where they started this season, and I think they've definitely been improving. They've got the best out of the young players, and he hasn't got the best squad in the A-League. And you even look at these last 2 weeks. I know 5-6 weeks ago I tipped them to make the playoffs, and they could have. They led against Sydney, they led against MacArthur, and even in this game, against Wellington, they probably should have won. They had plenty of chances, and even at the end, your friend Velasol could have gotten 5 stars. But headed straight at Oliver Yemi. So, again, they again in this game, you sit there, it's like that untapped potential. I think, you never know what's going on behind the scenes.
No.
But for me, it seems weird that you let a manager who has really turned him around, let him go, but who knows?
And again, you don't know what's happening behind the
No.
scenes in terms of the deal they've agreed.
Yeah.
But it's so rare that anybody who's got a contract walks away from it. And if he's just said, actually, you know what? I don't need this. I don't need the money, whatever. Like, that is integrity that does not exist in football. And like, maybe he's not. Maybe they've said, look, give me half the money, whatever.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Yeah.
But if that's the case, like, credit to that guy for having the principles, right?
Yeah, well, definitely. I mean, I probably would have left a few episodes ago if I didn't need the money. But I need the money, so I'm turning
Listen,
up.
mate, I'm not doing the money. I just want to get out of the house, right?
Well, I'm turning up here for the money.
We actually pay to be on this show.
I'm paying.
No, I think, I mean, it's for a manager to. There must be some serious stuff going on because, like you said, to leave a position where there's not many jobs in that vacancy for a manager, you're very lucky to find it, especially here in Australia.
And also, I mean, this sounds like a really silly point, but Australia's big, right? It's not like you can get a manager's job somewhere else and go, I'll just stay where I live. You've got to, you have to move, right?
Yes.
In the UK, okay, obviously, some places are further apart than the other, but the chances are you can get another club reasonably close, keep your kids in that school, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So it is. There's a lot that's probably, like you said, not going on. But from a footballing point of view, what he's done with that team and given them a lot of belief, because I didn't have much hope for them early on in the season, and their football when it's on is fantastic. So disappointing that first half of football for them against Wellington, the worst I've seen in a long time. And probably has made that finals, even though it's still a chance, very, very slim.
It makes it hard. But you just wonder if he has been told that, we're going to try to sell, Eli Adams or Bayliss or, Cotter, we're not going to keep him. And, suddenly he starts to see, okay, I need to start from scratch next season. So this is the only thing I wonder that they've told him that we need to sell some of these assets because then, you can understand his frustration.
Well done, Wellington. That's any win is a big win for them.
Yeah, of course.
Melbourne City beat Central Coast 1-0. This was not a good game of football. It's a bit like the Manchester Derby last night, right? I was saying that. If you watch the whole game, you watch the whole of the Manchester Derby or the whole of this, and you just wonder why you've ever fallen in love with this sport. But even when you see just the 3.5 minute highlights, and the first highlight is like a dribbled shot from 40 yards, and you're like, even this 3.5 minutes is going to be tough, isn't it?
But the only great thing was that well-worked goal.
Yes,
I think,
agree.
Again, the set play, it was obviously something they'd worked on. They made runs that opened the space for Tilio at the edge of the box, and then
here's a lovely little thing from him. Do you think because I think in the plan, I think it's probably the guy he passes to shoots. But it's beautiful if he's meant to just dink a little assist.
It's a great
inside.
invention because if he had tried to muffle a shot, I don't think he would have scored.
Agreed. Yeah.
And Mehmeti, scores again. Those young players keep coming through, and you look at. We're probably going to talk about the table, but they've got a decent run in 3 home games. Seem to have a bit of momentum, so don't count them out in that Premier's Plate run in.
Yeah, it wasn't probably the prettiest of football, but this is, I think, why Auckland are on top, because sometimes they haven't played particularly great football. And the game has been fantastic, but they still find ways to win. And this is the same with Melbourne City. And you still look over, because there was a moment where they flashed over to the stands, and there's still some good players out, key players out, and they seem to be finding their way. And it's good that the young boys are doing well. Menti scored 2 games in a row. Lapane, he's been great. Caputo, he runs that line really great for a young boy. So. And the energy that Aziz Behich gives, I mean, that guy's incredible. I mean, such an asset for that Melbourne City team. But yeah, they are a real threat coming into this final series for sure.
And actually, that win just moves them on to 40 points. And you look at the top 6 and you say, right, pretty much Auckland, Western United, Melbourne City are in. Would you say that?
Yeah, definitely.
So which means it's so. The fascinating part is, Western Sydney Wanderers have 36, Melbourne Victory 36, Sydney 33 and 6th, Adelaide 33 and Macarthur 32 as well. And okay, Macarthur have played a game more, but that's tense, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very tense. And and still like there's still someone that could still pip Auckland at the end of the line.
Well, you think we've done our predictions.
Yeah.
There's a predictorometer on the internet. I've never sounded older in my life, but you, Archie, well,
Yes.
you've got Melbourne. We've done all the results. We predicted all the results.
Yeah.
Which is quite difficult when you don't know injuries and matches that are happening in 6 weeks' time, and you're doing it in 1 second because someone's told you to do it on the WhatsApp group. But you've got Melbourne City winning the title by a point.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was a quick rush job because I in the WhatsApp group, unfortunately, I didn't do it then, so I had to do it pretty quickly.
Well, you were saying, look, I'm meditating. Goodness sake. I can't,
Yeah.
Do not disturb.
Yeah, exactly.
And then when I seen City at the top, I was like, oh, this is a bit harsh. But I think with the run that they have and the form, I'm just picking purely off the games that they got, and it sees them going to the top. And I just think with Auckland, way to Sydney and way to victory, they might find it a little tough.
So your top 6 is Melbourne City, Auckland second, Victory third, Western United fourth,
Yeah.
Western Sydney Wanderers and Sydney FC with Adelaide dropping out.
Yes.
I think you give MacArthur 1 more point this season. Blimey, poor guys.
So I still love the Millet, and congratulations to Millet for being signed on. But you're not making finals.
Thomas, you've got Auckland pipping Melbourne City on goal difference
Yes.
at the top of the table. Western United third, Victory, the Wanderers and Adelaide in your top 6, with MacArthur finishing above Sydney.
Yeah, I think Sydney. With the Asian Champions League, I just haven't seen enough. They got the spark, they got the players. Where you talked about the firepower up front, but they're just open at the back, and I think they're running. I think they're going to be exposed again. So I don't think they'll get enough points.
Yeah, but hey, with this predictor, right? I mean, I picked.
Don't try to.
No, I have to. When I picked Brisbane to beat MacArthur. What I'm saying he's
predicting the Victory fans. They'll be on the comments. Come on, bring it on. Just pile it on.
I'm giving Auckland the title. Melbourne City in second, Western United third, Wanderers, Melbourne Victory, Adelaide United squeezing into the top 6. No Sydney FC for me. But it's probably worth playing the games and seeing what actually happens. I always think.
Yeah.
Now, listen, the reason we're wearing these football kits, it's to do with something called the Great Save 2025. The PFA is partnered with something's happening in the UK, and they have Green Football Weekend. And one thing that is actually quite interesting is just the amount of kits that are thrown away. And obviously your kid wants a new kit and you want to buy them one. But the PFA is urging clubs, players, fans to rethink how they dispose of kit and the environmental impact. Keep playing. I don't know about you, but the way I'm really good with this is, underpants. They go from like normal day wear to sports pants. And then they're like husks by the end. Ones where you
maybe
wouldn't-
like cloth to polish your use silverware.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, that's true. No, but that's exactly right. But they go down to a pair where they're literally just a bit of elastic, but I still go for a run in them. But the eye, just underneath is just it's just, there's just,
I don't want to picture it.
You can feel the air.
Don't
That's what
want
I'm
to
saying. You
picture
can feel the crisp, as winter arrives,
I
you
need
can
some
feel
of that
the crisp
meditation
air.
just to get that out of my head.
But the point is, just don't chuck your kits away, right? Like, keep using them because obviously every new item of clothing, it uses energy, doesn't it, to make it, etc., etc., etc. So the Great Save aims to keep sports kit in play for longer via donations, resale, reusing, upcycling, helping reduce waste, save money. This is all off the top of my head, by the way. Support those in the community who may otherwise lack access to kit, all right? So do good things for the environment. Fixtures next week then. Melbourne City, Brisbane, so we'll give that to Melbourne City. Wellington Phoenix, Melbourne Victory, so we'll give that one to Victory. Sydney FC, Auckland. And obviously we've said already, because Sydney are travelling, that's a great opportunity for Auckland, isn't it, Thomas?
Oh yeah, again, they're just going to be looking at like probably 4-5 points, in these last games to shore up, and they got to take advantage of it. And again, the way they've been playing, they've been solid. They don't give much away, and you would think that they can expose Sydney, especially with everything that's going on around them.
Yeah, I agree. I think, with Auckland though, I wonder how they can cope with the position they're in. Like, I mean, I know that a lot of them players maybe have not played where they're a chance to win the A-League or be in this sort of situation. So it's how I guess Steve Corica keeps their mindset and them focus, knowing that teams are really, really close, and one little slip up from them. And
I think if they lose to Sydney,
there's
then I
wide
think
open.
you start to, the gremlins start to sort of
Is it
speak louder in the back of your mind.
Yeah, is it easier to chase or be chased?
I think it's sometimes easier to chase because obviously you haven't got the same pressure and you see opportunity. Where sometimes if you're defending, your mindset switches a little bit into that sort of conservative mode, and that's where Steve Corica comes in. Like he needs to keep them at it and keep give them the opportunity.
Jets versus the Mariners. Perth Glory play Adelaide. Look, it's a big game for Adelaide, this, isn't it? Because they're on this terrible run.
Yeah.
People will expect them to go to Perth and win. Will they?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not an easy place to go. Like the travel and also too.
I mean, the results would suggest it is an easy place to go.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you still ask
One win
players.
in 500.
Yeah. You still ask players. It's still a tough place to go traveling and to be physically up for it. But it's it is Perth that seem to be making the mistakes that let teams win. They've gotten a little bit better in terms of that, but they want to. They're coming towards the end of the season. They want to keep fans happy. So any team that goes to Perth, it's going to find it tough. And for Adelaide, they need to win. They need to win. Take a lot of Carl Vick wants that pressure off him, I guess. In terms of talking about jobs next year, and also too, the players will want to keep the fans happy and saying, look, we're still a real fight for this finals position. So it's not going to be easy, but I hope they do well there.
Western Sydney Wanderers, Western United on Sunday. It's probably the game of the weekend.
Yeah, like that's it's got all implications, and two teams that are playing well. So I think that's the one to definitely tune into, and I think the winner. Well, yeah, we'll be in a great spot.
Yeah,
I think for Western, it's just like if they can go there and get a draw. I think Western United. I think that would be probably a decent result for them. But yeah, for Western Sydney, it's all like they can take a big step if they win.
Hey, now Archie, this week is the anniversary of your 13 goals against American Samoa. I'd never heard this story. This is
so. What anniversary is it? Like
I didn't even know.
15, 20?
Was it only
45th anniversary. Every year he has a 2-week-long ceremony. He invites everyone he knows, and then he recreates all the goals in his back garden. Where in the dressing room after that game, did you sit there and go, "This is my story now. This is my after dinners for the next."
Well, I don't even know how long ago was that. That was I thought it was like
24 years. Big one. The big 24.
Well, I think next year's probably.
Oh, what are we going to do for it next year?
Maybe I'll taper it down this year. Just invite a couple of friends over to watch.
Next
and then,
year we should do the show.
Then the 25th year, I'm
a rewatch party.
No, let's go to American Samoa next year. Do this show from there. 25 years.
Brilliant. That would be brilliant. 25 years. It's got a nice little. I think the 24. I don't know. Being in the change room for that one, I don't even realise the impact of what that game was and scoring all those goals, because we had a little interview after, and everyone's saying the world record, and you don't really think too much of it, and it's still like it's still a trivia question. It's on the bottle cap of a BB bottle, and so my name sort of pops up now and then on a game show with
You're on Pointless or Deal or No Deal or The Chase. This is exciting, isn't it? What a big moment.
I don't think I'd make the chase, but
you wouldn't make the chase. Okay.
No, not make the chase.
Who wants to be a millionaire? What question is that? Just a 32,000 question? What is it?
Actually, I don't know.
Because if you're not a football fan, and is it
I
who
thought
scored?
in Australia? Maybe not, but like in the UK or
In the UK, that is a £12 million question. Who scored 13 goals against American Samoa? God, if that came up for me, I'd be like, this is a right touch. This is a right touch. Well, look, many congratulations.
Oh, yeah, it's cool.
Obviously, Vince Rugari and Tommy Orr on Wednesday with Total A-Leagues, a sensible show. And then Nick Stoll and Daniel Georgievsky do...
what's going on with them?
Yeah, I think...
do you know what? I mean, like, they were having a go about Archie's fat neck, right? That's not for you to say. But also, can the cameraman just keep still? Like, it's going everywhere, isn't it? I think it's for the kids.
Maybe.
It's all a bit jerky,
TikTok,
isn't it?
TikTok
Do you think
generation.
it's a TikTok one?
But my neck, really, it's not...
Let's have a look. You're in proportion.
Yeah.
You're perfectly in proportion.
Danny Georgievsky's head, though, is definitely not...
Do you think it's too big for his
it's
body?
massive.
Yeah. Because he's
massive.
got a little piddly neck.
Yeah. The beard, yeah.
Yeah, there we are. Anyway, but look, we wish you well. We don't
Yeah.
want some sort of forced beef between the shows. We're sort of better than that.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is a tripod for your show, and just so like keep it locked off on the shot, doesn't move around. Because people on YouTube, people watching this, they're already moving around. They're on the train or if they're on the toilet, they're probably not moving around that much. That's how people are consuming this content. Nick, I'll give you a call. Anyway, thanks, chaps. I enjoyed that. I hope you had a nice time. We're going to meditate, and we'll see you next week.